It's the third weekend in October, which means, Joe, you know what this means. Tennessee and Alabama. We remember one of the best games of the season last year when Tennessee knocked off Alabama. The whole state of Tennessee goes into Neyland. They take up the goalpost, Joe, and they throw it in the river. They were tired of the Death Star, known as Alabama, beating them over and over and over again. They get over the hump last year, and now they go on the road in deep death of Tuscaloosa. Play a Nick Saban offense that isn't really any good. Their defense is, though. The biggest story, Joe, we talked about this to start the show. The biggest story in the beginning of the year was Joe Milton this, Joe Milton that, Joe Milton this, Joe Milton that for Tennessee. No, the storyline in Knoxville is that they can run the ball on anybody they want to, and their defense is pretty freaking good.
Here's what I think it comes down to for me, Blake.
You think Bama just sucks on offense?
No. I know this is so comical that I spotted some of the comments. Some of them were held for review. I sometimes check that tab. Oh my God, we were violently attacked. The only fan base that some of the fan bases don't like us. The Bama fan bases really hate us because they think that we're biased. Because we're realistic. We're realistic about what they're dealing with offensively. Look, I commend Tommy Rees for finding a new creative offensive approach for running the ball and then attacking deep. It is a very complicated thing to defend because of the way that everyone's coming downhill, stacking the box, and then leaving over the top open for, all those long passing touchdowns that they've been having. But we got to be real with ourselves that it's unsustainable and that only putting up 20 or so points a game is not sustainable winning offense. I know that this game is in Tuscaloosa, and I know that we came on here and we tried to pick Texas A&M. Texas A&M could have won that football game if it wasn't for bad coaching by Jimbo. Josh Heupel's not an idiot. Josh Heupel is a really good coach, and I think that he has figured out what we saw last week, that he has figured out what the offensive identity of this team is. Not forcing, trying to throw the ball. They're going to continue to run the ball down your throat. My main reason why I really like Tennessee in this football game is that James Pierce Jr. is the truth. That entire defensive line is going to
they're really
eat
good.
Up that Alabama offensive line. 126th in sacks allowed, 110th in tackles for loss allowed for that offensive line. And if you watch them play, they're getting their ass beat. I mean, who was Landon Jackson freaking went off, and he hasn't had a big game in his entire career.
3 sacks.
Former
LSU guy.
He beat the shit out of that Alabama offensive line.
Well,
I'm telling you
who
right now.
O-lineman is Proctor.
Proctor James Pierce
worked.
And he's been getting worked every single week.
What do you think Harold Perkins is going to do to him in 2 weeks?
Damn right. 5 sacks for him and James Pierce Jr. Watch it happen.
Okay. I agree with you on Tennessee defensively. But let me ask you a question that I know where you're going to go and what you're going to say, but I know deep down late at night when you put your head on the pillow, you're going to have to think about it. Which QB do you trust more, Jalen Milroe or Joe Milton? Because
wait.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. No. Go ahead. I'm interrupting.
I'm going to say something that's so stupid. I don't know if it's not Milroe. I think it's debatable. Because you can debate it is why it's the problem. On the other side of that football, Alabama has a really freaking good defense. Really freaking good defense. They're coming into their own. A lot of young guys hadn't really mattered too much. Another game of 2 defenses that can really play. This might come down to which team doesn't make the mistakes, meaning turnovers, costly turnovers.
Well, be more specific. Be more Jalen Milroe and Joe Milton. Just the 2 of them.
No. Even in totality, Joe, even if a running back fumbles, in a game like this, you cannot give possessions away. Every possession is so crucial. Tennessee ran for 232 yards on A&M, who, by the way, Bama ran for 27.
That's the important part to remember here.
Now, the truth, everybody thinks that Heupel's teams are just finesse. The shit they ain't. They will punch you square in the mouth. And they got caught off guard against Florida and got beat for it because Joe Milton couldn't complete a pass if his life depended on it. But he went 11 of 22 last weekend, meaning Joe Milton. Did not look good at all. But I tell you one thing he can do. He is not bad at running the football behind that good offensive line. They got Mays back at center. I think it's a good match.
That's important.
That's very important. But I think the old Crimson Tide might want a little blood. I think they might want a little revenge from last year. Just something to think about in the third weekend of October.
You brought up Mays coming back.
Massive.
So you asked the question a second ago of which quarterback do you trust more? And look, Joe Milton, Jalen Milroe have been bad for different reasons. Okay. Yes. We don't need to sit here and break them down. We get attacked for every time we try to break down quarterbacks on this show for God knows whatever reason. Let me ask you this question. Okay. Which offensive line do you trust more? Because Tennessee. They're both right. They're both equally problematic quarterbacks. So who's going to get protected better against each team facing off against really good defensive lines? And it's Tennessee.
I just don't know what to make of Bama. Now, I mean, because Joe, really and truthfully, they run the ball and hit the deep shot. And if they can do that, then they're screwed. Like, they're massively screwed. So I did go pull this up, and let me get to my notes. Passing yards allowed, Alabama is 23 in the country, okay? Mm-hmm. But one thing that I have noticed, okay, when I look at them offensively, they are so bad at throwing the football. It's insane. Everything that they're really connecting on has been massive deep shots. And Arkansas a week ago took that away from Jalen Milroe, and that's why Arkansas just kept tick, 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 just crept up. Unfortunately, Sam Pittman couldn't get the job done. KJ couldn't get the job done there at the end. I don't know, Joe, if I don't favor Tennessee here in a lot of regards. The only thing is that this game is on the road. And the first time that Tennessee went on the road in a hostile environment, Florida, they couldn't get it done, and they looked chaotic. I do think that home field advantage is a massive deal here. Both teams quietly. Everybody, when you think of a rival for Alabama, you think Auburn. Tennessee, it might be Vandy, it might be, Kentucky or whoever in the hell you think that their rival is. Tennessee hates Alabama more than anybody. More than anybody. The bottom line comes to, I've seen Tennessee on the road before, and they did not look good. Can they right their wrongs? But this team is physical. They run the football well. I think you got dual styles going at one another. They both defensively and offensively. If everything's the same, Joe, sometimes I got to lean the better coaching staff. I can't contradict myself and say, hey, man, I'm going to always go with the better coach. I don't know if that's not Saban. And if there's one thing that I know about old little Nicky is petty as hell, and he wants revenge. I never remember a time in his tenure, ever, maybe once. I think Ole Miss got him in back-to-back years. When he got beat by a team the following year, he came back and found a way and kicked the dog shit out of them. Mm-hmm. It happens every time. And look, this has been Nick Saban's best coaching job by far, what he's been able to do. I don't trust Joe Milton. I don't. I trust Jalen Milroe more. As crazy as that sounds. As crazy as it sounds, I do think that what I've seen, so Joe Milton, every time he's faced with crunch time decisions, he makes the bonehead decision. But terrible. You know what I have seen? When Milroe's back's up against the wall, he responds. We saw it against Texas. We've seen it the last couple of weeks. I'm going to get killed for that, me saying I trust Milroe more. But right now, in a phone booth, Which quarterback's going to be able to beat who out? I do lean Milroe. People are going to think that I'm crazy, but Joe Milton, are you not watching the games? Joe, name a game this year that Joe Milton looked good.
UVA, and he
didn't even really look good there. He looked chaotic in the first half. So I know what Milroe's going to do. He's going to chunk that bitch down to Burton and say, "Go get it, cuh."
And he's got time to throw. If he's got time to throw.
Yeah, he needs to get out of the pocket more. He needs to run more.
I think that the one aspect of this,
too many sacks for his own good. I agree with that from Chris.
The one aspect of this that you brought up, if it does end up going in Alabama's favor and what sets them up, is exactly what you just said. Is Tennessee, the way that they played against Florida, made Florida look like a national championship competing team with how bad they played.
3 weeks ago, what were we saying about Florida? Like, God damn.
Yeah, they made Florida look competent. And Florida's fine, but they made them look a lot better than they actually were. So what I'm saying here is that Tennessee doesn't usually travel that well. I mean, the game that they crapped their pants the most was against South Carolina last year on the road at South Carolina.
It's a good point. In October.
For whatever reason, they do not travel well. So maybe that's one of the factors here, is that because this game's in Tuscaloosa, we kind of have to not throw out, but give a little bit more of a lean on Alabama because of that stuff. I still like Tennessee more than I like Alabama, but it definitely factors into it.
Well, and I don't know. How confident are you on Tennessee? Because I wouldn't be. I'm not confident on either one of them.
Like 55% confident.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's interesting? Passing offense, Tennessee 88, Alabama 82 in the country.
They're just both perfectly average.
Dude, you can go down this list. They are about average. Believe it or not, total offense, Tennessee is ranked 86th. Okay.
But their run game's better.
But Alabama's 33rd in the country in total offense.
Milroe's had a couple 300-yard games that have kind of
so has Milroe.